This episode of Todd-versations is brought to you by Envy, the ultimate Apple experience. Learn more about Envy at envyapple.com.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I am thrilled that you're here hanging out with us today. Boy, do we have a show for you. I have somebody here today that I have been looking forward to this conversation for a couple of months, going back and forth, trying to get this on the books. This is a busy lady. You know, she's got some stuff she's doing. She's doing some heavy lifting out there, which we're going to talk about. But I'm super excited about who we have here today. Sofia's here, who's a co-founder and CEO of Brightseed. And Brightseed is, I'll give you a quick little frame up here. Brightseed is a pioneer in biosciences and artificial intelligence, and, you know, working to work with nature to kind of restore human health. They're exploring nature and discovering insights right now, and working with plants and science. And they've got this really cool machine called Forager that's got some AI stuff going on, which we're going to talk about all that. We're going to get people deep. We're going to get in the weeds, as I say, Sophia. We're going to get in the weeds talking about plants, right? That's a great line. I'm already busting jokes and I don't even know it. But I'm super excited to have this conversation. So please, everybody, slow down your day a little bit. Just chill out for a few. Give us some time. And let me introduce you to Brightseed and what they're doing, because it's fascinating stuff that's happening out there in the world. So please, everybody, welcome once again the COO, the big brain. Let's just call her the big brain of the place. Sophia's in the house. Welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Todd. So good to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I've been looking forward, like I said, to this conversation for a while. I got into, I started reading who you guys were and started getting into it a little bit. It's like, oh, what is all this? What is it about? What do you mean you're diving? What you're into looking inside of plants? And what I realized was, the more I started peeling this back and get into it, you guys are really about upcycling human health through plants. And it's such a big word right now, upcycle this, upcycle that, and super relevant. But that's what you're doing. I mean, in a nutshell, if I can paraphrase it a little bit. So I want to get into this if we wouldn't mind. But before we do, like I do with all my guests, because I told you I wasn't going to read a bio, because I can't. First of all, I got too many big words. I can't read them anyways. But nonetheless, would you share with everybody a little bit about your journey and your bio and just get everybody up to speed before I start inundating you with these 5 billion questions I have?
Well, happy to, but I just want to say upcycling human health is a tagline that I think you absolutely nailed it. And I'm going to quote you on that one going forward. And we'll get to why. But I love how it explains what we do and the impact that we have. I started Brightseed almost 6 years ago, with two amazing co-founders, Jim and Lee. And my story in entrepreneurship is actually comes from where I grew up. I grew up in northern Mexico in a family of entrepreneurs. One side of the family was in agriculture, deep cotton, sorghum. The other side of the family was in chemistry. And so I kind of have it in my blood, I guess. What are the natural chemicals inside of plants? I was blown away by the impact that technology can have in food, and particularly the impact that technology can have about finding what's inside of food that matters for human health. So I think there are very different kinds of ways we can use technology. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I partnered up with Jim Flatt and Lee Che, two amazing, brilliant scientists, friends, business people. And we started Brightseed to find out what are the natural molecules, what is the magic inside of plants that actually makes us stay healthy, and bring that, to the market and to people in ways that they love to enjoy.
It's fascinating. I can't wait to get a little bit deeper in the weeds into it. I got to stop at the weed joke. It's just like, I got to come up with better. I got to come up with better material. I can only use it once per episode, for God's sake. No, but like I said, it's fascinating to me because the depths in which you're going, and looking and taking a look at plants, not for what we see, but for actually what they are, it to me is incredibly, it's just a trip. And I don't, it's not something you could have probably done 20 years ago. It's not something that technology would have allowed. So one of the things that you guys say that I thought was really, really cool is that we find nature's answers to health. So I kind of throw that out there for my first question. Tell everybody, what is Brightseed?
What does that mean? So plants all around us, in fact, plants and fungi, but nature all around us is full of really valuable building blocks. Some of those are proteins. Some of those are kind of oils like olive oil. Some of them are fibers, right? But most of what a plant genome is actually encoded to do is to produce natural bioactive molecules. And it sounds like a really long, complex thing, but this one is my favorite. It's caffeine inside of my coffee. It's a natural bioactive molecule. It's just a natural chemical that a plant produces to protect itself, actually. And then we take it every morning, or some of us do, and we feel the effect of it. That's why it's called a bioactive. It activates our body. We feel like an adrenaline and focus and energy. And just like caffeine, there are hundreds of thousands, in fact, millions of bioactives that we eat every day and actually come from the original source, plants, produce, the soil with which they are grown and harvested, and are part of our everyday diets. These bioactives are super important for maintaining our health. And what is mind-blowing is that science has just started to know about them. We know very little about the bioactives out there, less than 1%, which is why we built Brightseed and this Forager technology that allows us to see them.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Well, so let's get everybody a little bit more up to speed about bioactives, because there's a lot that we can talk about, right? I mean, there's the biological collection of plants and, multi-omics and, omics and pan-omics and all of this crap. I mean, I tell you, I got deep in the weeds and all this stuff. It's like, holy crap, this is like, I might be able to win a beer at a bar with some of what I learned, but it's not enough to stand toe to toe with you. I assure you of that. But, why are bioactives basically the dark matter of nutrition?
Yes. So, we know that a diet that is full of plants, legumes, nuts and seeds and vegetables and fruits is good for you. There is no question that that's the case.
100%.
Science knows that. What we don't know is why. What is it inside of these plants that actually keeps us healthy? What specifically at a molecular level? What are those bioactive molecules that interact with which receptors in our bodies and in our organs that keep us healthy? And that's why in academia, it's called the dark matter of nutrition. We know it's there, just like dark matter moves galaxies and but we just don't exactly know what it is. In the plant world, we know this is in there, but we don't know exactly how it works. We just didn't have the tools until now.
Yeah, and so you're you guys are basically, space travelers through plants.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
again, but and I think it's important. I want to say it again because I think I want to keep this in the back of everybody's mind, is that you're upcycling human health. I think it's really relevant that what you are trying to go, and we're building the story to kind of getting to that point. I'm going to get deeper into Forager and what you guys are doing right now and peel apart. But I think I want to continue trying to keep framing it up for everybody to kind of get their head wrapped around what you all are doing. So you're bringing forward, science-backed solutions now that empower people to better understand how nature and plant-based solutions target immune function, metabolic health, mental well-being, all of it. So tell me a little bit, if you would, what restoring the connection between nature and humanity means to you, because it's a big part of what you all are working on.
It's really important to, I love how you're kind of taking a step back and framing this, because humans, we usually think we're at the center of the universe, right? Everything revolves around us.
Isn't that what social media is? That's the only thing social media has taught me, is that I revolve the universe right around me. So it's all me.
That's right. And this is like a certain, your dog doesn't think the universe certainly revolves around dogs, right? And the very humble part of the way we built Brightseed is that we are acknowledged that humans are not the center of the universe. We're basically just one other life experiment or life form of the planet, together with plants and together with fungi and together with, the different animals that are part of the animal kingdom. So are we. And eons ago, we were part of the same primordial soup with the plants and fungi, and we evolved out of a shared material, if you will. What's really powerful about restoring the connection between nature and humanity is kind of the ability to look to nature to see what parts of nature impact our human health, and to identify the powerful connections that already exist. So our technology doesn't synthesize or create anything that's new. It actually finds what's already there, what's already in nature, and that, lights up human health or maintains our body's functioning. I talked about caffeine, but there are many bioactives that are already known, like glycine in tomatoes for cardiovascular health, like aspirin. The active ingredient in aspirin actually comes from the bark of a tree, and it has anti-inflammatory properties. 2/3 of small molecule FDA-approved drugs come from bioactives that are originally found in plant sources. So these are really powerful for health, both in our diets and in medicine. And Brightseed is about recovering the visibility of that connection that already exists.
Yeah. Well, I love, technology is a scary thing. Don't get me wrong. People can freak out. We're going to get into that a little bit. And what I love about what you all are doing is that you're working with Mother Nature, not being Mother Nature. And I think when we become the latter, that's when things start to get off the rail. And it's out there in a big way. You know it. I know it. We could read about it the whole 9 yards. So with that being said, I think it's appropriate now. Let's talk about Forager if we can, because this is your AI powered platform. It's identifying these compounds and their health benefits and stuff. So a 2-part question for you, if you wouldn't mind. What is Forager? And then tell us how it works.
So, our whole purpose at Brightseed is to find these bioactives and take them to market as nutritional ingredients, either in the original plant source that they're in, or as ingredients that can be incorporated into our everyday foods, granola bars, cereals, etc. So we find bioactives and we commercialize them. Forager is the platform that finds them, and it is actually built on artificial intelligence. So I told you earlier that science has very little visibility into the bioactives that exist out in the plant kingdom, and it's mind-blowing. I think we know more about kind of the surface of the moon that we do about the the bioactives that exist in nature, because less than 1% of these natural chemicals have been mapped. We don't have a microscope that is powerful enough to see them. So
wow.
So it's what we do at Brightseed is we bring plants into the lab, we grind them up, we fractionate them in the smallest slices possible. We put them through a very sophisticated process with machines so that we can get as specific as we can with, the microscope equivalents. And even then, we don't see the small molecules, these natural chemicals that exist in plants. And that's where we use AI. We use AI to predict what these compounds are. And just like you have a search term in Google and 10 results show up, chances are the top 3 or the top 5 are going to be what you're looking for. We predict what these bioactive molecules are, and then Forager is able to predict what they can do for health. Because we train, that's what AI can do. We can train it to pick up on patterns, and then I see a molecule, and it can see a health area, say, brain health, or we were talking about a metabolic health, and it can predict that this bioactive molecule from a certain plant can have a desirable effect. And so that their predictive platform can point us in the right direction to go and validate all of those predictions scientifically. And once we have the clinical and scientific proof that these predictions are correct, then we take these bioactives to market so that we can promote and restore human health, so that folks don't have to wait until they fall into being diagnosed with a disease to actually be able to do something about it.
Unbelievable. And, a couple things that blow me away. One of which is we don't have anything powerful enough to see everything yet.
Yes.
That's kind of that in itself was kind of a trip. But then the other side of the equation I think about pops in my mind is there's over 100,000 species of plants just in the Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, or more. Yeah. And so I'm assuming that that's probably 3 for 100,000 that have been looked at, maybe, who even knows. Right. But I mean, when you think about, here's where it gets my head. When you think about space, the vastness of space, right? That in our mind, we can conceive of that. You look up at the stars, it goes on forever. There's stuff over here. Oh, look, we found this over here. We have just as much vastness of things on this planet as we do looking up at the stars.
Yes.
And I think it's such a trip that you kind of blew me out of the water. I didn't see that answer. I didn't see that reflected, but it really has. It's really a trip to think about. We're that, I don't want to say naive. That's not the right word, but I don't know what the better word to use is. We just don't have it yet.
I love that you're underscoring that, Todd, because the James Webb telescope that just got launched into space, and we can now see what is actually out there and has always been out there, and that deep space illumination is blowing our minds. Just like James Webb is a technology that allows us to see, Forager is a technology that allows us to see what's in here, what's already here next to us. And I think the word I like to use is kind of enlightening, right? It's like it's illuminating, because in many ways it's actually pretty intuitive for us. We know that the plants around us can be healing. We have ancient traditions that point to that, but we haven't had the science to be able to validate it at a molecular level. That kind of specificity is often left for pharma. Pharmaceutical companies can get really granular at what is this synthetic man-made compound that can have a certain benefit. And we're now applying this kind of technological power to the bioactive natural molecules that exist in nature so that we can be proactive about our health and not reactive.
Well, we certainly don't want to see big pharma do stuff with food, huh? I said it. You can write me the last note. I don't care. Come on, Pfizer, come at me. I don't give a shit. I'll say it to your face.
I think the opportunity here, speaking of big pharma, is to change the paradigm of health.
Yeah.
We're built, the healthcare system is built on a paradigm of intervene after you get diagnosed with a disease. And when we die of infectious diseases, it's actually really important to intervene really quickly with a therapeutic. And there's nothing you can do about, not being stung by a mosquito or something that can be an infectious disease.
Right.
But society today doesn't suffer from infectious diseases as much as we used to. We actually really suffer from chronic diseases.
Correct.
6 out of 10 people in the US have a chronic disease.
Yep.
That is in many cases, it's actually preventable. So the healthcare paradigm, we have an opportunity to shift it towards prevention. What can we be eating and consuming and doing about it now at a molecular level? Not generalities, exercise and eat more fruits and vegetables. That doesn't really work. But if I can be really specific, because, hey, guess what, Todd? I bet you probably have swabbed your cheek or spit in a tube, and somewhere you have information about your DNA. You have a ton of medical history. We can now match that with really specific bioactive compounds that are powerful for your precise health outcomes. And that's the power of being able to see the bioactives that are already all around us.
Well, I think I love what you just said. And to me, food is medicine. It's something I talk about all the time on this platform. It's an incredibly powerful tool. And, food has sustained this planet for a very, very long time. All the species, hey, everybody's eating on this planet.
Yeah.
And we've gotten away from what I call valuing the true value of what food is. We've made it very simple, right? 99-cent drive-through is not what I consider true value of food.
Yeah.
And especially when you talk about going down the long game, right? To the point of, we are a very reactive society when it comes to our health. We are not necessarily a proactive society when it comes to our health. And now with technology, with DNA, predisposition, all these other things you start talking about, food becomes a much more powerful vehicle. So I know that one of the things that Forager and you guys are working on is mapping out the molecular interaction between the plants and then like the gut microbiomes, which is a big deal, which I want to get into a little bit as well, and how that the potential impact is on health. So can you talk a little bit more specifically about that as well? And then I'm going to get into the hemp thing in a second.
Yeah. So actually, before I go into the microbiome, you mentioned something really powerful, is food as medicine. And Brightseed, we've done our own consumer research around who cares about this space and why does it matter? And we have found that over a quarter of US American adults, and this is 27% of people, we call them the bioactivists, actually.
They have t-shirts? Special
we
handshake?
have t-shirts. Can we send you a t-shirt? We have bioactivist t-shirts. They actually believe that food is medicine. Yeah. They want to learn more. And they were willing to pay more. And most importantly, they're not satisfied with the current solutions that are out there. So there is a quarter of the population is ready to embrace food as medicine, but they want real science underlying that. And this is the kind of visibility that we can bring to understand what is the bioactive that provides the health benefit, so that we can bring these solutions to 27% of the population that wants them and is ready for them.
Well, and no, look, everybody's freaked out about science today, right? I mean, let's be honest. The last 3 years, science has gotten a really big black eye in a lot of ways, right? And the whole narrative around things. So, people are much more aware of what it is. And I love the fact that people, the 27%, they want the facts. They want to sit there and say, oh, wait a minute, you're telling me this does X, Y, and Z? I'm down with that. And I think our country is, quite frankly, I bet you that number is understated. I bet that number could damn near be doubled if you really presented it to people like, if you could literally know what is every part of this and what you should be eating versus this, blah, blah. I think people will gravitate towards it. Quite frankly, I think what you all are doing is a pathway to really open people's eyes and engage ourselves in the value of food conversation.
Yes.
I really believe that.
I totally agree with you, Todd. And it is the food should be a vector for health, right?
Yeah.
Food is the reason we eat food is because it nourishes us. And understanding why is a really powerful and eye-opening lens into capturing a lot of that value all the way down the supply chain, all the way down to agriculture and the farmers that actually make nourishing food possible, and have that impact on food as medicine in people. And you were talking about the microbiome earlier, because it's a really important element that we're really excited to be incorporating into Brightseed's Forager AI platform right now. Bioactives can have a direct impact in our bodies, just like caffeine from my coffee gets absorbed by my blood, docks into a receptor behind my brain, and I feel all of this energy.
Yeah.
These bioactives can also have interactive effects with the microbes that are already in my gut. So a certain bioactive may not actually get activated unless it meets a microbe that somehow does something to it. And then my body can absorb that bioactive. So the interaction of bioactives with microbes is super important for health. It is a direct impact and an indirect impact with the microbiome that really matters.
Well, and one of the things I love about what you all are doing, and why I asked you to come on this show, is that and I throw it out there because I want people to get this part of it as well, right? People get freaked out by technology. We touched on it a little bit before, right? People shouldn't be freaked out by this technology. This is not GMO. This is not gene editing. You're not making, you're not doing some of the stuff that some of the other folks out there with CRISPR and some of these other crazy things that are rolling around are doing. And I want to get that on the table, because when you think about food as medicine, I believe you guys are, I believe Brightseed's coming from it at the right angle and the right approach to solidify, to validate, and to uplift the conversation about let's understand our food. The power to save our planet, the power to do a lot of things, all, in my opinion, revolves around how we treat food, how we feed people, and how we grow it, how we produce it, all of it. Yeah. And I think it's a big part of it. So I want to get that on the table for everybody to hear, that this isn't some thing that's going to scare you, keep you up at night. This is legitimate, working with Mother Nature, not being Mother Nature. So with that being said, go ahead. You guys want to add, please.
Just to underscore that, Todd, all of our technology, and we have invested millions in it, the sole purpose is to understand what's already out there. Yeah,
I think that's you. So let's get into what's out there, because this is where the rubber meets the road. So I'm just going to kind of throw a bunch of questions at you. I'm just going to let you roll with this, because I think it's the easiest way to go. I want to talk about what you guys have done with hemp, right? And Brightseed Bio 1. Again, I believe you're upcycling human health. Yeah. So let's get into that. How'd you do it? What did Forager find? And I'm going to save my third part of that question till the end. So let's give you those first two to go with. I got another one I'll throw at you at the end. I want to hear.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Go, girl, go.
Thanks for the tee up. So when we first started Brightseed, we wanted to find a bioactive that really impacted human health in an area that really mattered. And we focused on both metabolic health, staying healthy from a weight perspective, a liver perspective, everything that encompasses metabolism, and digestive health, because what happens in our gut really impacts the rest of our body. We found a bioactive that is really that has been shown preclinically to actually tighten the junctions of our intestinal lining. All of that sounds like jargon, but it basically means that it helps our gut keep what should be in our gut, inside of our gut, and help our body absorb what should be absorbed without it kind of getting confused about what, things that shouldn't be absorbed into our body going into our body.
Right.
And the most exciting thing about this bioactive compound is that we found it, and it's actually already in market. So you can purchase it and online. We found it in an upcycled source, and we were talked about, mentioned hemp protein. Hemp protein is food grade protein that we, sprinkle on our smoothies or on our salads. In order to take that, to take that to market, we actually need to get rid of the hull. So the shell that covers that hemp seed.
Right.
Well, we found on that waste stream, it was actually thrown away. We found that to be the richest source of this natural bioactive. Can you imagine? We're sitting on gold. And so we took all of that source of natural bioactives, which is actually also very high fiber, and we created an ingredient out of it that we can put in high fiber cereals and beverages and baked goods that also has this powerful effect on our gut. What I love about this example is that following on the theme where we were mentioning earlier, the answer is already out there. We didn't manufacture or engineer a gene or synthesize anything to find a powerful bioactive for human health, and in this case, for digestive health. If the answer is out there, and the answer is often right under our noses. We did not have to go and look for exotic Amazonian flowers. It's already here in our commercial supply chains, and we just need the tools to look and to discover what we're already sitting on.
It's unbelievable. And so now you guys are taking this product. You can go onto your website. You can get a sample of it. You can go on the website, see what the applications are about. But I mean, to your point, you were looking over here and you found something over there, which I think is a wonderful thing. I mean, I think that's how Columbus made his way around the globe, right? I mean, it's a wonderful way to discover things, right? I think sometimes the best way to discover something is to not expect to find it. And I think that's the biggest revelation, which is what you all had. So talk to me a little bit, at this point, you're out there, you've discovered this, you find this stuff, it's amazing for your health. It was discarded. Forager got up, and Forager one day had its virtual cup of coffee, went, hey, guess Sophia, guess what I just found? I'm gonna blow you away by this, right?
It's exactly like that. Forager gives us these readouts is, I think these bioactives will be powerful. Let's go and test that. And once we find a powerful bioactive, Forager reads out, I think it could be in these 80 plant sources. And guess what? One of them was the upcycled hemp hulls.
Unbelievable. I mean, again, it's been sitting on this planet for gazillions of years. Yeah. Hemp is a weed. It grows like a weed. It's one of the most amazing plants on the planet. You can make building material out of it. You can make clothes out of it. There's health benefits for eating out of it. There's fuels that can come out of it. They planted a whole bunch of hemp around Chernobyl to suck up all the nuclear crap out of the ground, which is an amazing thing to think about because it's wild what it can do. So when you think about all this, and this is going to lead me to my question in that series I was throwing at you there about really what you guys are doing. When you think about what you've uncovered, right? And you had that moment, that Columbus moment, right? When you're cruising around making discoveries. How did that, make you feel that why it mattered to humans, and how did that change the game for you at that moment? Because things had to matter more, I would imagine, at that point. And I keep phrasing this up a little bit further. You spent 5-6 years trying to do this. You've got, venture capital, you got people with money, you're doing it, you're growing, you're doing all the typical stuff that you do in your space as a startup. But there is that moment, that aha moment, right? That it's like, this does matter to human beings. Tell me how that had to feel.
That's a really, I'll answer that question first, kind of almost like in an intellectual way. And then I'll answer it in a way you asked, which is, how did it feel? So let me do that twofold. I think the moment we found, it's called Brightseed Bio 1, this
Right.
bioactive poll with digestive health benefits. And we're still uncovering other good things that it can do for liver health and for others. What was very impactful is that we found it in about half the time that it usually takes to find a novel bioactive, and at about a quarter of the cost. So, and this was our very first bioactive discovery. We have, Todd, a pipeline of a dozen. And we're working with other partners in the space, from agricultural partners all the way to dietary supplements and nutritional ingredients partners, and even biopharmaceutical partners that also want to discover bioactives and take them to market. So intellectually, super exciting to know that we found these novel, natural ingredients in half the time and a quarter of the cost. That changes everything for the paradigm of proactive health that we were talking about. Emotionally, your question around how did that feel? For me, it's always been about what is the impact that we can have on people's lives for real. We talk about it, we throw stats around, but what really matters is when your loved ones are dying prematurely, when our parents won't be able to meet their grandkids, when it didn't have to be that way. If only they had access to very powerful and natural proactive health. And for me, it's always about those health outcomes. That's the real needle that we're looking to shift. And it is always looking to nature for those solutions, but to increase our health span, our quality of life, always in harmony with nature. When we found this first bioactive, I felt it, because I know people that could have benefited from it, that will benefit from the stuff that we're finding. And that just matters at a personal level.
Yeah, no, I think it's that. Thank you for that. I don't disagree 100% with the fact that's the way I felt when I was reading about it. I was like, this is really, really impactful, because we rush to medicine, and look, Western medicine is, I'm not taking anything away. There's a lot of positives to it. Don't get me wrong, but there's negatives to it as well, right? You sit and you watch the news, or you get on TV and you see a commercial. It's like, this will help your hair grow stronger, but you're going to have 19 side effects, none of which you want. I'd rather be bald than one of those side effects. And this is not that. This is literally saying Mother Nature, the planet, has evolved to a point that we have all these different things. It's how we got here, the evolutionary process, Mother Nature, how this thing all worked is beyond our conception, right? I think when you think about looking out at space, we can't conceive of that. What's right in front of us, we're even, quite frankly, a little dumber about, to be honest with you. And I think it's incredibly powerful. It really is. Now, you guys are doing some big things. You talked about working with different organizations. You guys, I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with ADM, because they've come to the table with you guys. And I'd be remiss not to say that, because look, they're a baller out there. Whether you like what they do all the time, you don't like what they do all the time, it doesn't really matter in this conversation to me. I'm really more curious about what y'all, the goals, what you guys want to do, the vision, how you're going to revolutionize this, what's next, and how does ADM fit into it?
Yeah, great question. So we work with many partners, and I mentioned briefly kind of the scope of them, and I'll talk about ADM in a minute. But we work with agricultural partners, OFI, who's one of the largest spice traders in the world, Ocean Spray, a co-op on things. We work with dietary supplements and ingredients partners. So ADM is one of them. Pharmavite, the maker of Nature's Made, the extract, the yellow cap,
the vitamin company,
supplements. They're really pioneering in natural solutions for health, and we're working with them too. So ADM is a really important partner in that ecosystem, because, as you said, they're everywhere, and for us to be able to power such a large player with their innovation is really important, because it can move that needle on health outcomes faster, right? With ADM in particular, we are diving into the microbiome. And so this capability of connecting the bioactives and their effects, not just on us directly, but the combination effects that they have on the microbes that they interact with, is the big capability that we're building together. And it will be really powerful for understanding, again, it's technology to understand what really goes on in the body, and to understand what are these natural microbes that exist in combination with the natural, plants and their bioactives that exist. It's a whole new capability that will, is the first of its kind in the industry. That will be really exciting to see, to watch, the results that come out of it. That will power ADM's innovation pipeline and hopefully beyond too.
Unbelievable. This is just, I mean, it's just a really cool company, which is why I asked you guys to come up here. I mean, it really is a really cool company doing some really cool stuff that people need to get their head wrapped around. I mean, they really do. They really need to understand that food is medicine, and you're banging that drum very, very clearly for people to kind of get their head wrapped around. So I would encourage everybody to get on the Google machine and dive in a little bit and get on and see what you all are doing and stuff. But I got to be honest, if this is the starting point for you guys, right? So what's next? Because I mean, this is super, super exciting.
Yes. Yeah. So thinking about the future is really exciting for us, Todd, because you mentioned 100,000 species of plants just in the Amazon. There are 350,000 species of plants, and not even counting their varietals and, the different, parts of the plant, right? The seed, the flower, the stem, the root. And so there is a lot out there for us to map. We already have the world's largest plant compound library out there by 40-fold. So we have a tremendous visibility already, and there's still much more to cover. So looking forward, we want to, just like Google organized the world's information, we want to organize plant and fungi information out there and bacterial information out there so that we can see it, understand it, and predict their health benefits for humans. And ultimately, we already launched our first bioactive, Brightseed Bio 1 for gut health, which we talked about. Into the future, we see dozens of these bioactives, coming out of Brightseed's pipeline, either fully owned by Brightseed or in collaboration with some of our partners that we talked about too.
Sure.
The whole point is, let's translate what we are finding into, bioactive ingredients that actually make a difference for health as fast as possible throughout the entire ecosystem, so that we can move that needle on health outcomes.
It's going to be a fascinating journey to watch. I encourage everybody to do it. I really do. Again, one of the cool things for me with this platform is that I can say yes or no to people coming on. I can make choices, and I can get folks on here that I feel are making a difference, worth people's time and energy to listen to. And you certainly lead that list. And again, you're working with Mother Nature, not being Mother Nature. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And I think that that's something that people need to ask themselves when they think about food technology. Is that the basis of what they are doing? And again, there's people out there that are being Mother Nature that I'm probably going to get a little more vocal about these days, because I just think it's incredibly dangerous, and it's not in our long-term best interest. It's just not. And so I'm just super stoked that you guys are doing this. I'm just super appreciative of what you guys are all about.
And for us, it is the realization that the wealth is already out there. We don't need to engineer it or create it,
right,
in order to find solutions that are powerful and that matter. So reorienting, we talked about paradigm shifts around healthcare, from treating disease to preventing it. There's also a paradigm shift around science and technology, from using it as a tool for engineering, and instead using it as a tool for discovery. And this is where we think the potential is huge. We've only really just tapped the surface.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch. I'm glad I get to watch. I'm glad I have your email to ask more questions as you guys get rolling too.
I'm very thankful to have you as a cheerleader, Todd. Really.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. And thank you very much for being here today and hanging out with me. I think this is going to open people's eyes and get them thinking a little bit, and hopefully questioning a little bit about what's going on out there. So, again, that perspective of like, how are we doing this? Are we being Mother Nature? Are we working with Mother Nature? And I think that is a very, very powerful thing that we need to be mindful of. So thank you very much for hanging out with me today.
Oh, so happy to be here. And, we will, I really believe that the future will not only be about the vitamins and minerals that we know come from certain, plants and foods, but very quickly we will move into vitamins, minerals, and bioactives that we know have certain very specific preventative qualities. And we're just starting to turn the corner on that. So it's an exciting future ahead.
I love it. Well, again, thanks for being here, and come back. I want to update your open invitation to come back. Let's keep this conversation rolling because people, I think I want to keep people informed in the success that you're having and what you're learning, and empower people to take that harder look. Like, how much should I really love fruits and vegetables, and why should I love them more today than I thought about them yesterday? And I think that's incredibly powerful. So thank you for being here. Everybody. Yeah, cool. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate you being here. Get on the Google machine, Brightseed, type it in there. You know how to use your fingers. Go read what they're doing. Pay attention to what they're doing. It's worthy of your time and energy, and it's going to be a fun ride to watch what these cats are all doing out there, making a difference in the world. I love it. So thank you for being here. Remember, like I tell you all the time, go inspire somebody. It's an incredibly important thing to do. Just like Sophia's inspired me today to think more about my food and what's going on out there. Go say hello to somebody you haven't said hello to. Go say hello to your mailman. Reach out to your neighbor across the street. Make a difference in somebody's lives. You have the power to do that. If we all worked on that every single day, this planet would be a hell of a lot better place to be at. Trust me. I read that somewhere. I believe it to be true. So thanks for being here. We appreciate everybody. Don't forget, check us out on social media, TLC_Todd-versation. Do you know why I'm on social media, Sophia?
Why?
Well, not only because everything's the truth, right? But because, as we said earlier, I realize that the world evolves around me solely when I'm on social media, and everybody's just here for me. That's why I'm on social media.
Feels good. Huh? Feels good to be the center of the universe.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. Much love from my team to all of you. Remember, be smiling out there. We need more smiles in the world. Sophia, I appreciate you very much. I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Todd.